Okay, let's get started. I'm going to share my screen. Then we can go from there. Okay, great. I think you can all see me, you can all hear me, so we should be good. Okay, so yeah, this conversation is about performance expectations within Scrum teams. In which in other words, should everyone in the team be an A player? So my name is Sang Venkatraman, and you can find me on LinkedIn there. Um, About me, 18 years in product and technology leadership. Previously, I was head of engineering at Clutch Technologies, a company that was acquired by Cox Automotive. And then currently, I'm a CTO and co founder at a venture studio focused on building vertical SaaS companies. We currently have 4 companies under development, and today we operate in a model of fully remote teams. So the context I'm coming from is, in the last 8 years, I've hired or been involved in hiring about 90 engineers directly. The first of which was within, all in Atlanta. The last 2 years have been remote with an emphasis on, hiring both in the US, but also in Canada and Latin America. Uh, so why this question? The question behind the question is this. You look at many job descriptions and they'll say something like looking for a rock star engineer, right? But what is the reality? Do we have rock star engineers? Is everyone in the team a rock star engineer? When I tried to dig into this, I found that there were not really great benchmarks around this. People, either it wasn't published or people didn't really know what to expect. So I kind of thought, okay, it's probably time for me to take in my own experience of doing this and try to provide something that I have seen. And know that this may not be groundbreaking for a lot of you. You guys and girls may be seeing the same thing, um, or it might just be a codification of what you're saying. But if it's entirely different, I'm glad to hear it. So, what are the definitions? Basically, it is helpful sometimes to have standard ratings, right? You don't, it's not always helpful to have a complete grayscale. So I define, A plus players as exceptional. These are uniquely skilled individuals. Sometimes the most telling thing I found about these individuals is a strong experience across the stack. Whether it's DevOps and backend all the way to the front end, right? That's one example, or very deep knowledge, and still having a strong team orientation leadership. I've only worked with a handful of these individuals in my career. Yeah. Then you have the A players. These are people punching above their weight level. These are people that are really doing well. These may be senior engineers, taking a lot of responsibility, but this might also be junior engineers, stretching in areas and being a very dependable member of the team. Then you have the B players, right? These are the ones that are delivering to expectations based on experience and level. An example of that would be someone, you have a team, you've set some architecture, you have a very standard way of doing a data pipeline, for example, and this person can go and execute that for a different data source. They are reliable, they are methodical. They are not probably the innovators or the edge of innovation in the team, but these are people are definitely doing what they're supposed to do. And then you have the C players, which we call the ones that need improvement, right? They are under delivering on a variety of areas, and we will dig into that a little bit in a second. So, with this as a baseline, just going to walk through what we have been seeing, and it's kind of a range, and I can give you some insight as to that as well. So let's assume we are building an 8% development team, which is going to be the standard assumption we make for the next 3 slides. Uh, then what are we seeing with respect to A and A plus players? I'm generally seeing 2 to 3 per team. It's usually a front end, very strong front end person, and usually a very strong back end person. So this is I'm seeing as pretty common. Across teams, two to three people come up, kind of rising up to that standard and having that level. Uh, how do we want to take action with these people, right? Obviously, provide recognition and positive reinforcement, including raises and promotions. We try to be proactive about that. Give them something to further round out their skills. So I have one person exiting this as a full stack engineer, but now I've given him a little bit more of training and leadership on the DevOps side of things so that eventually he could become that A plus player. Now, this is for the A players, right? Of these two, three people, you might be lucky enough to find that A plus player, right? And for that person, in addition to everything we are doing above, we also want to make additional efforts to raise the level and visibility. And I'm going to emphasize on visibility here. I think this person is a great opportunity for an engineering manager to step back, maybe stop going to some meetings that they have been going with this person, kind of let this person handle things. But at the same time, keep the one-on-ones, keep the close mentorship, because there's still going to be areas of them for them to grow. But I would say, truly celebrate these people and get them the visibility that they deserve. So that was A and A plus, which is about 2 to 3 members of the team. On the B side, this is probably the bulk of your team, 4 to 5. Continue to foster them into the team culture, right? We believe that everyone should be growing and everyone should be part of the team, and then set additional goals for them to grow into A players. And these can be broken into two, right? These can be non-technical goals, like they're building this data pipeline. Can they fully own that? Can they interface with business users? Can they really own the soup and nuts of this thing, which involves them stretching and talking to people that they wouldn't generally talk to? The second way is technical, right? When they build this data pipeline, can they come back and say to the architect or the core platform library and say, hey, let's update this, let's add this flexibility, let's change up some configuration, let's add some new configuration, let's add some asynchronous features to this if that were missing. So again, this is an example of a non-technical and technical area in which you can challenge or grow your B team members and give them something to work towards over a 3 month or longer time period. Moving on to the next one, um, other C players. How often do we see them? What do we do about them? The number of this can vary, and I'll provide some insight into it in a later slide. Some common problems that I've seen are poor work ethic, meaning they are not there or they don't put in the time. Poor work quality, right? Either they have a low technical ceiling. These are the people, unfortunately, ones that are still getting used to the stack. 6 months in or 8 months in, or they just don't care enough. They deliver work, but they don't really seem to care enough. uh, Sometimes they're hard to manage. Sometimes they're technically fine, but the person wants to be an island. They want to do their own thing. They are not getting together with the program of the team. They have ego issues, inconsistent working styles, etc. And then last thing is a bad fit of an otherwise good engineer, right? So for example, we hired somebody who was who had a lot of design jobs but wanted to be a front-end engineer, and we really pushed him on it. And he said he wanted to be a front-end engineer. But then come to find out, when he starts a job, he focuses a lot of his time on design. He's not delivering the quality code. He's worried about the small UI elements here and there, and that was just a bad fit. So otherwise a really good person, but just not in the right role. The kind of action I've come to decide on this is no one should be in the C bucket for more than 30 days if they are a contractor, and I'll double click on that a little bit. Our model currently is, we have a contract to hire clause with a lot of our firms. So we do have some flexibility in saying like someone doesn't meet performance requirements, and hence we are able to either remove them from the team or repurpose them in a different team. So I do think that, if you're not getting this, 30 days and you have the flexible, I would say 30 days is long enough time for people to show improvement, especially in the early stages. And the second one is the 90 days of the FTE is something that I've become convinced of over the years. When I look back at people that we had that were not performing, we tried the plans, we tried all of that. But eventually, the decision I came to 4 years later was the same decision I would have come to in the first year. So setting yourself some realistic goals and saying, okay, this person has to improve, If not, there may be a different team, or this company and team may not be the place for them, is the way I think about it. Obviously, this does require pretty good handling, but I think this is where communication with the team, having an objective set of criteria, etc., is important. So, in summary, right, um, at steady state, I believe, each Scrum team is made up of 2 to 3 A players, 4 to 5 B players, and a C player growing into a B player. This is the person that we have stretched. Also, along this path, we have lost 1 or 2 C players because they are just not ready to move on to that level. So then of the B players, right, 50% are on the growth path with potential to turn into A. That's great and exciting for them. The remaining 50% are respected members of the team, but they're getting relatively lesser recognition. Like I said, in my opinion, there's really nothing to do about them. It is just that, they are not growing at the same level as the others, and they're not taking the initiative. So they're part of the team, but they are not getting the same level of recognition. Coming back to C players, C players either grow into B players. So that was that one person in the steady state scenario above that grew into be a B player. Hopefully, that's not the stopping point for them. Eventually, they'll even become an A player, right? Or are removed or reassigned from the team. Again, this is something that has to be handled quite well. But I do believe that by doing this, you're setting some standards for the team and setting base expectations. So to staff an 8-person team, I generally believe we have to hire 9 to 11 people and also continue to manage performance proactively. 9 and 11, right? That's a little bit of a range. So we were closer to 9 at when we were in Atlanta. We were able to hire. We had a stronger interview process. We were able to see people in person. We were closer to that. In a remote world where I don't want to do 6 rounds of interviews, I also want to take some risks on the kind of people that we are bringing in, both to increase diversity within the team, but also because you just don't know, and you don't want to just chop off people that don't interview so well. So that's where the 9 to 11 range comes from. We feel comfortable with it given our model, and also that we have good performance measurement and evaluation in place. I also believe, as hard as it might be, both the employee and managers win long term by addressing performance in an objective manner. And the last point I would say is, I emphasize here a lot about individuals because I don't think this gets talked about enough. But at the end of the day, these individuals are part of teams, and individual performance monitoring is important. But so are team scorecards. This is an example of something that we use where we rate each team on a variety of things, and we'll set some growth goals for the teams between one date and another date. We'll also use this to compare our different teams to like baseline and see how things are going. So with that, I think I've kind of covered everything. That's it. Thanks for your time. Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn, and happy to answer any questions on Slack and anything else. Thank you.